Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Expanse, Season 4, Episode 10. It's called Cibola Burn, or Cibola Burn. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that first word.
I'd have gone with Cibola, but
Cibola?
I mean, I could be completely wrong.
I don't know, my instinct said to go with a ch sound, but I mean, I could be completely wrong. So this is the finale of the season, and I laughed because Connor put us on a tangent last episode for a long time about not seeing any of the characters on the planet for the entire finale, and it was completely redundant within 3 seconds of footage of this episode.
I agree. Within like even half a second, you saw the aspect ratio. I went, well, never mind that. Then.
Yeah, that was all out the window. And it did have a lot more of a neat conclusion. I mean, there is a cliffhanger. There's definitely a cliffhanger moment, but a lot of the plot lines do neatly, like all the planet stuff especially, like, we get a lot of like proper epilogue stuff there where we're leaving and where, characters get all these final moments that are all really enjoyable for the most part. So really strong stuff. The plan works. These ships can all their fusion reactors start spinning again. All the tech on the planet is dormant and is turned off. There's some stuff where like Holden has to make Amos promise that he won't kill Murtry when he goes looking for a signal.
Amos is in a pretty bad shape.
Oh, he's in really bad shape. He's missing some fingers, and it completely escaped me that they had full-on proper limb regrowing tech. So we see Amos growing new fingers in the med bay.
We haven't seen this before, right?
We might have done it. I mean, it's been. When we
were talking about last episode, I thought, well, maybe they'll just re-go it. And then I didn't actually say that because I thought, that's stupid. They haven't shown that. It's
been so long since Season 3, though. Never mind Season 2 and 1. I'm not willing to...
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
State anything. It doesn't feel far-fetched in the context of the show, though.
Oh, no, not at all.
Especially when Murtry wakes up and Alex says you're a prisoner and he walks out. The rest of that scene is just Amos staring at him with like daggers in his eyes, just like, yeah, you even try to move. I'll stab you with my half-formed finger bones.
Oh, would have loved to see that.
In fact, I'll just mention it here because it's tied into this directly. The one more scene we really get of Amos in this episode, we get maybe the best look in his face that we've ever had on the show. He goes in to talk to Murtry. Murtry's all healed up. He's all healed up. And he's like, well, I didn't want to beat you up when you were, half injured. That wouldn't have been as fun. And Murtry stands up, being all big. He's like, oh, we're going to fight then. And he's like, well, you made me shoot Chandra, and I liked her. And almost as if he's offended by that statement, Murtry punches Amos. But the look at Amos's face, he just smiles, the blood like soaking his teeth, turns round with this look in his eyes. Murtry looks petrified and he says, thank you.
It's like that was permission to hit him back, essentially. It's like now he can say he didn't start it.
Yep. So I've got a feeling Murtry's going to have to go through a few medical resuscitations. Well, not resuscitations, but like he'll have to go back in the chair to like fix some bones and limbs on the way back to Earth. That's my take on it.
Probably.
Oh dear. Holden. Obviously a couple of different things with him. Obviously with Naomi, he kind of like, she's upset that Lucia will just, she'll have this example made of her despite the fact that she didn't really intend to hurt anyone. And Holden quite rightly points out that, I mean, intentions aside, people did die because of what she did. I mean, that is something. And Naomi kind of points out that, she also was complicit in something once upon a time, and she was able to reinvent herself and kind of like, seek redemption and do something else and, help in other ways. And Holden sort of just poses the idea that, well, it's a shame she flew into space then, wasn't it, and died. That's a shame.
Yeah.
And then they just sort of smell at each other, and it's a sweet moment for what it is. Okay, you staying on the planet. She's going to study everything, and... I don't think she's going to be a main character going forward. It wouldn't surprise me though if she pops up from time to time with findings that might be relevant to what's going on.
Possibly. I suspect it'll be more along just the occasional vid message.
Yeah, that's I'd guess as well.
I don't see us spending a lot of time on this planet ever again.
Us as the audience, sure, yes. Yeah. Which is cool. She did mention though that when she was like hooked into the thing, because the opening shot of the episode is her
going through it,
screaming essentially with all the pressure this is putting on her, and she talks about feeling the spaces in between things and how there's a presence coming, and Holden agrees that that's what he felt every time he went through the gates. So we can only assume, at least at this point, that this presence is the opposing force that destroyed the Makers.
Yeah, and the question is it aware? Like they can feel the presence of it. Can it feel them?
Yeah, and we said this last episode, but this is setting up some wonderful stuff for the future. In fact, everything in this episode does. Because I mean, honestly, the Earth and Mars stuff, and even the belt, the belt stuff with Ashford, all of that stuff is really setting up some really cool plots for next season and beyond. And a lot of that does tease some really cool, interesting things. Just one last thing, Holden, before we leave him, he has this kind of like sweet moment where they're getting rid of the last proto-molecule, and he says, "Oh, my last words to Miller were shit. I'm not really happy with them." We thought they were all right in context; they were fine, but Naomi's like, "Oh, would you want to tell me what you would have said if you had a chance?" And he doesn't do it, but then when she leaves, he kind of just talks to the proto-molecule. It basically says that if we have a chance of surviving what comes next, it's because of you. So, rest in peace.
I like it.
And they fire the proto-molecule into the sun, and even though it's not Miller's, ashes or body or anything like that, it still has that feeling of this is his send off.
Oh, definitely. It really does feel like that, and it works well enough.
That's a good moment. And of course, Holden sends a message back to Earth, and while it's good news for the most part, Avasarala is pissed because it helps Gao. Everything he says about how, the planet's safe now, like there's so much.
Come on out, have fun.
Yeah. And Gao does win, and we see her making our victory speech. And the bigger thing here, though, is that Avasarala, her husband, is kind of like distancing himself from her, needs to be on his own, because she wants him to come to the moon for this concession speech or whatever it is, and he says, "I should go on your own." And it seems like, I mean, I wasn't sure if she still went or not. The message she leaves Gao kind of implied she didn't. That felt like that was the... instead of, I'll send her this message.
I'm not sure, actually, because the message she leaves is like, hey, when you get into business, like tomorrow, right, when you sit down at the desk, you're going to see this business message. It's kind of like, when governments, like, the Treasury will leave a note for the next person in when the government changes, as kind of, they always leave like a bit of a joke note, kind of like that.
That's a really good message. It was, I still don't agree with what you think is happening or what you think the best path forward is, but I hope I'm wrong. That was kind of the gist of the message. So take this seriously. Don't be consumed by its power. And even I never wanted this job, but it's once I had it, the thought of losing it was terrifying. So it was kind of her acknowledging some of her own, problems this season. Her own kind of...
Yeah, pretty much summing up her entire arc of the season.
Yeah. And of course, she gets a message from Bobby. So we'll switch over to Bobby because this ties in nicely to this. And I love that this kind of comes back, this idea that they're going to work together, because obviously she made the offer earlier in the season, but it feels like, okay, now Bobby has a purpose again. And Avasarala, because it's funny, because Avasarala says, "Bobby, your timing sucks," but part of me is thinking, actually, the timing's kind of perfect. You're free now. you've got time in your hands.
You're not restrained by whatever you have to, your appearance wise.
Yeah, because if you remember, before she became the general secretary, she was doing a lot of things behind the scenes. There was a lot of shadow tactics going on, and I feel like she's more open to doing that again because she's not the one in charge. She's not the one at the face of everything.
Possibly. I think maybe she's too high profile now to get away with that.
Maybe. She's definitely helping Bobby, though. There's far too much interesting stuff here to...
Oh, definitely, yeah. They're definitely meeting up probably quite early next season.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they're already together by the time...
yeah, I mean, that could happen.
Next season starts.
I wouldn't really question it.
So, basically, Bobby's worried about this deal, this easy money deal, looks into it, gets suspicious. The guy, the other military dude who kept giving them the codes, ends up dead, and it looks like a setup. So she goes to try and intervene and catches, people try to, ambush them, and two of them go down. And it is worth mentioning that she has kind of a heart-to-heart with the blonde, who sees a bit more eye to eye with, and she kind of like turns back and kind of like tells the story of how the guy died, because remember there was like a murder on the docks like way back.
Kind of what spiraled into all of this.
Yeah, and she says that was never an intentional kill. The guy got physical, she defended herself, and he tumbled down the stairs and died. It was never an intentional murder. So it kind of makes her possibly sympathetic, and it's certainly by the time everything ends, it feels like, yeah, she's, maybe an ally that'll pop up at some point when the occasion calls for it. But really cool scene here when Bobby busts in, though. There's a great little one-er here where she's in a bit of a gunfight and ends up round the corner. She's going after the people who have just taken these things, and this group of belters have left an explosive, which actually brings down this giant crane in the the decommissioning dock. Really cool stuff. Feels very visceral. It's great to see Bobby kind of in action again, and the blonde's like, "Hey, I need to flee. I'm going to go to series," and Bobby's like, "No, I'm not, but I'm not going to do it alone."
Yeah, I got my own plan.
Yeah. And you kind of knew that she was probably talking about Vasarala. Like,
well, it was 50-50 of a Vasarala, or she was going to go and hook up with the Rossi crew.
True, yeah, that's possible. I think if Vasarala made more sense given the offer earlier in the season, though. It was
it did, but it did cross my mind as that was also a possibility. I mean, it didn't take long to get your answer, but...
Yeah, of course. So I actually really like how all of the stuff with Bobby, and to an extent, the Belter stuff, has led to, okay, there's outright corruption on Mars, and they're aligning themselves with the Belters, or at least the Belters are taking advantage of the corruption. And
I think the latter, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I say that is because the first one's a possibility is because the Martian that's on the Ashford ship that they're kind of like torturing for info, his final moments before he dies does kind of, like, the way he says something kind of implied that he did have a belief in what was happening. He said, "Oh, Marsy's dream's actually well and alive. Are you going to see what the new shape of it is?" or something like that. He says, like, whether that's in line with what Marco's doing or if that's separate and Marco's still just taking advantage of them, which is very possible.
Yeah, I think it's a combination. I think the Martian dream being alive is less about Mars now and more just a planet in general to have their own that's ready. That's livable, which has always been their goal. It's always been the Martian dream. I think they think they're using the Belters, but also I think a lot of them are just. There are some who believe like this, and there are others who just want the money. And the Belters are, I feel like they're using them.
And again, Ashford here shows repeatedly in this episode that he is a changed man. He is someone who wants to find peace. He tries to talk this into the Martian. He tries to talk this into his crew who just want to kill him. It says, no, think about his family, people who not only will you hurt, but they might want revenge. You're just going to create a circle of more violence, potentially. And... think about the larger picture. And of course, eventually, the guy, I actually really liked how the pliers were left in the room, and he kind of like blew at them so they'd bounce off the wall and come back to him. That was a really nice little...
That was a great little visual thing.
Yeah. So he kills one of the Belters on the ship, and the other Belter like kills him for it. So Ashford's just sort of sitting there going, "Oh my god, I'm trying to keep things peaceful, and there's just carnage around me." And do you know what's funny is I had this thought actually last episode, because it was the one before, but when Ashford was going off in this mission and Drummer didn't go with him, I felt like it was dangerous. I felt like this was being treated as if he can go and do this and there's no risk. And as this episode
makes sense.
Yeah, and as this episode went on, I started to feel like Ashford might be the big death for the finale. And
yeah.
It became kind of, when it became them actually storming the ship, I'm like, oh god, I feel like he's going to think he has the upper hand, but Marco's going to, and this will really sell Marco as a villain because it's someone we like getting killed.
Every time he's going through a room, it's like, is this it? You're kind of waiting for it and not quite sure when it's coming, though.
I will say all the entrance stuff was great. Ashford did get to at least look like a badass on his way in. He had that shot where he backed in and shot the two guys.
Yeah, as he went past them. That was fantastic.
And for the record, I still love the whole, like, whenever someone dies on a spaceship in this show, like, their mag books keep them standing up. Because of the lack of the gravity, they just kind of float there, but still attached to the ground. Like, I love it. It's just
and it still felt like Ashford here, where he sent the other guy in first.
Yes. And I really liked how, at one point, after the opening part of it, there's one point where the one guy goes in first, he gets shot, and Ashford actually kind of like sneaks up behind him and just sort of peeks out and shoots the other guy. And it was a really nice little tactical moment. And what I loved about this is when eventually someone gets the drop on him, we already teased in this... No, we already knew that Marco and Naomi had a son, but I did like that this episode reminded us of this in a scene, because Naomi looks at the news or whatever and sees, oh, wanted Marco, oh shit. And this makes her send a message to Fred Johnson saying, hey, I need to ask a favour, I need to find Philip before his father gets him killed. And I think there's something really sad about the first time we see him, that not only is he completely indoctrinated, he helps kill Ashford. So it's like, okay, obviously we want Naomi to try and save her son, but we kind of hate him now. Like, he's kind of deeply in that
It was also one of those things where I don't think we knew the exact age of her son. So for some reason I was imagining like a little bit younger, like, I don't know, early teens at most, for whatever reason.
Early teens. Yeah, I think he's late teens. Yeah, he's probably just...
He looks like he's 17 to 19.
Yeah, in that range.
I was thinking more like 12, 13. I don't know.
But it makes sense if Marco and her sort of did this when they were like, that age themselves, given...
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm not questioning the logistics of it. Just in my head, it's because it's always referred to as, her kid, right?
Because whenever...
I'm thinking younger.
Because whenever they were talking about them doing their stuff, it was always like when they were kids. So it always sounded like they were teenagers when they were doing stuff themselves.
I don't disagree with that. I'm not questioning it. Just for whatever reason, in my head, he was younger, even though there's no reason why he should be.
And I like that we knew before he said that, and they cast this kid really well, because he immediately looked like Naomi. It was like, oh, he looks like he's Naomi's son. Like, it's just right away. And there's obviously a great symmetry and bookending here where they've got Ashford in the airlock, and it's very similar to when Marco was in the airlock earlier in the season. And Marco says, you're going to try and talk your way out of this. And he's like, what's the point in wasting my last few seconds? And, and Ashford's fine. I'm not going to say that he's not scared, but he's at least not showing that he's scared. He's accepting this with somewhat grace.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it's interesting that it is the complete opposite of Marco. Like I say, that was all he did was talk, and he did eventually talk his way out of it.
Hell, if you look at just the difference in the characters, we've talked about how Ashford has grown and he wants peace, and even accepting his death here is an example of that. Even at his end, they're so different to each other, and even as he dies, like, we get some bagpipes for him, which made it feel like a really kind of like a death of honor, and like a hero just went out, and like
it definitely did. Yeah.
And of course, like he did get his his recorder thing going, and we see that the message was sent, so that has to play a role. When we come back next season,
it does such a long close up on it that's like waiting for it to send, and it's like, is it going to send in time or not? And it does, and like, okay. That's coming back big time.
Yes. Well, it was enough to prevent what's about to happen is another case, because I think it's really interesting that this actually ends the episode. The entire like siege in the ship, and then what Marco's crew does next is the ending of the episode, which is quite ballsy. Because they've not had that much screen time this season, but they've been enough to sort of build them up as this threat, to build Marco up as this big bad. And we heard earlier in the episode that they'd been at an asteroid field and they'd maybe taken an asteroid, and Ashford even said they're probably going to throw an asteroid at something, that the ship's designed to do that. And this is apparently something that's happened to some of the belter places in the past. In the past, when there's been terrorism to try and like sort of take control of the belt, it's been directed there. So he kind of leaps to the assumption that that's where they're going to throw it. And what I love about this is that we bring back the stealth Martian technology, which was taken earlier in the season, and this has been like essentially painted. There's like drones painting it on the asteroid, and it's like, okay, so this is like a stealth asteroid now, which is pretty severe, right?
Unique.
Yeah. And we find out the end of the episode is that they're launching at Earth, and we end on a cliffhanger of it's on its way to Earth, and Martian stealth is really hard to like get past. Like even the best.
That's been like established since near the start of the show.
Yeah, so good. Everything's so well like founded.
Can Gao even survive? A month in office.
Well, this is the thing. Like, where does this hit exactly? And I don't think it's big enough to cause like an extinction level event or anything like that. I don't think it's that big. But like, if this hits in the middle of a city, this is going to cause some serious shit. And this is like the most absurd version of terrorism you can think of. Like, this is, I mean, is this bigger than like just launching a nuke somewhere? It might be. I don't know.
In terms of sheer devastation, maybe not. I think what's different is the with the nuke strike, there's an expectation of there's going to be this retaliation, and it's this mutually assured destruction, whereas this won't have that.
Oh sure, I'm just talking about the blast itself and the.
Depends on the size of the asteroid, I guess.
Depends on the size of the nuke. I mean, the nuke that was on Newterra was
pretty big, yeah.
It was pretty freaking big.
To be fair, I'm assuming it wasn't quite that big.
Yes.
That we're discussing here.
Yeah. So Was the message enough of a warning? Because it's worth mentioning that it was never stated that it was Earth was the target. Like, Ashford, whilst the recording was going, he mentioned the stations, and Mark said, "No, that'd be pointless. Like, that'd just be Belters I'm hurting." But he never actually says it's going to be Earth. He implies that it's the biggest thing they've ever done. He implies that the goals are loftier, that Ashford can't even imagine it. But he never says Earth. So is it enough to give them a warning?
Yeah. And will they assume it's Mars because of, it's stealthed with Martian tech, or will they actually think this was Belters? Or without this message, would they have done?
Yeah, is he trying to reignite a war? Given that Ashford's ship was probably reporting back its findings up until this point, they probably, at least the Belt and all these various stations probably know that Marco had a ship that had asteroids. Like, there's probably enough information to connect it to him rather than say, nah, it may have been Mars. Like, I feel like, especially given that the bomb on Mars and that station was treated as a terror attack. We see it all over the news as Bobby and
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so there's even a link to say, hey, they're clearly stealing tech and buying tech.
Yeah.
So. But I am fascinated. I actually, I think this is genuinely a really interesting ending and an interesting cliffhanger because, we said how the ending of the last episode was so big, and obviously there's follow up, but just not in terms of what it does and what it means for the larger sci-fi stuff. It was like we have this moment, it fixes the planet stuff, and we can get off the planet, and everything's fine in that sense. But obviously there's this larger implication of these ancient aliens or whatever coming,
and that's kind of put aside for now.
Yeah, but what I like about this is a cliffhanger that completely focuses on the human threat and how dangerous that is and how both sides are really bad. And this is clearly more imminent than the other stuff.
Yeah, I really like how different it is from the end of last season as well. Because last season was like, holy shit, right?
Yeah.
And this is, it doesn't have that moment, nowhere near. But it's like, oh my god, what is this going to do? What are the implications of all this in its own right? And it's still fascinating.
Yeah. So, how does Naomi feel that her son helped potentially cause a genocidal, catastrophe? That is the level we're talking about here if this asteroid hits.
I would assume so, yeah.
Yeah. So, huge stuff. Huge stuff.
I wonder if they aim the asteroid to hit a certain city, because I assume you could show.
I assume they do, yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming they figure out how fast it's going to go, and they can work it, thrust.
I mean, on the one hand, you could if it's the capital, and maybe it takes out Gao immediately. Maybe the fact that we know they're going to the moon's a little get out to say why they all survive, because we all know they're going to the moon for this thing, because they set that up. They set that up that they're all going to the moon for a thing.
Yeah. What would happen if Gao was killed in this immediately? Would Vassal have to step back in?
Now, that's possible. I don't think it's going to happen that way, though, because I feel like I want to see how Gao deals with this. I want to see that, I want to see how she immediately, oh shit, there's this giant disaster, and we have this threat. Because there's always the potential that, despite the fact that Marco was clearly trying to split everyone up and make sure everyone's hating each other, there's always a chance that he could inadvertently make everyone unified against him. There's
common enemy is
there's always that chance.
Things in history that brings people together.
So I'm actually excited for Bobby and Vassal working together to expose the corruption and what's going on under the surface. I'm excited for dealing with Marco, which I assume the Rasu crew will be more directly involved with next season now that this catastrophe happens and Naomi's got a personal connection to it.
I think it's really interesting with them heading kind of back. We can kind of get them working for a Vassarala again, but more off books. We could have Bobby with them as well.
Possibly, yeah.
There's kind of no reason why not at this stage.
It depends what they're doing, and it makes me wonder how much actual alien stuff there's going to be next season. I assume it's going to be there in some capacity. It could be this thing where for a while it feels like though it's not going to be involved, and then out of nowhere something happens that interrupts what's going on. And
I can honestly see it being like nothing till the very end of the season, and that's the season ending.
But the truth is I'm, as much as I'm excited for more of this stuff about these warring aliens from eons ago, I'm actually really excited about all this stuff with Marco and all the politics stuff.
No, that's the thing. It's really exciting just on a conceptual level, right? It's like, oh my god, it's all this stuff that what on earth are they going to do? What are they going to surprise us with? But if they don't do anything with it for an entire season, I'm fine with that.
It's a testament to the show that they've built two completely different sides of the show, the story, that are both intensely interesting and fascinating that I don't mind one taking the back seat for extended periods of time. So in that case, in that sense, it's been a wonderful season for world building. It's probably not been the most exciting season. Like, I think season 3 probably still ranks as highest for pure adrenaline and wow factor and all that stuff.
I agree. I think this was a remarkably consistent season.
It was a very good season of setting big things up, even if the payoff wasn't necessarily in this season itself.
Yeah, but I think outside of like the last 2 episodes, which I think you could argue are the highlight. Before that, I don't think there's any episode I could say this episode is better or worse than this one. I'd probably put these last 2 as 1 and 2, and then everything else I would really struggle to separate.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a very contained story, and I'm really excited about more. And apparently they're already shooting season 5. A couple episodes ago, when I mentioned there was a set photo, apparently that set photo was from season 5. So
that makes sense given that didn't happen.
It didn't happen, season. Yeah. So I didn't realize they were shooting. I knew it had been renewed for ages. It's been months since it's been renewed, but I didn't realize they were shooting already. So, which honestly, good chance it'll be the year before, rather than the longer.
Amazon are surprisingly good at that.
They are. Part of it is because they tend to renew their shows a little bit early compared to like Netflix and the other streaming services. So,
I mean, you say that, but like Netflix, like The Witcher, for example, renewed for season 2 before season 1 aired, started shooting before season 1 aired, and they're still saying it's going to be 2021 before you see it, and that's only 8 episodes a season.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing. So, I mean, that said, though, I'm okay with the show being a little bit over a year per season, because that was kind of what it was doing before. That said, it's less episodes than it was in sci-fi. It's only 10 episodes a season now, so it's maybe a bit more realistic to expect that they can do it in a year.
It's possible. If we get it in a year, great. If not,
yeah, if it's
I'll be happy when it gets here.
If it's the following February or March, whatever, no big deal. A couple of months extra is not a big.
I think a couple of years ago that really not bothered us, but we felt it. We felt those extra couple of months gaps.
Yeah, but now every show does it.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm kind of just used to it. I'm like, we're on a.
Ultimately, if that's what it takes to maintain the quality, then yes, I don't want to sacrifice that. Sure.
Right. I think like now I'm used to a 15 to 18 month schedule, like that cycle, instead of every year.
Hell, it's 2 years between movie sequels usually. So
yeah, I mean, and they're probably like 2.5, 3 hours tops usually.
Yeah. So the fact that we could even pump out a good 10 episode season of a TV show every 18 months is kind of spectacular. So, yes, I'm all for it. So, yeah, Expanse season 4, really, really good. The show is not disappointed, and I have not even felt the transition to Amazon. I mean, you could argue maybe the aspect ratio thing would have been allowed on Sci-Fi, but other than that, I have felt nothing. Maybe more F-bombs, but like...
Yeah, maybe. And honestly, I don't know. Sci-Fi might have allowed them.
They might have done, yeah. They might have done.
Like, I felt like they were pretty hands-off with the show anyway. Like, I mean, we shit on Sci-Fi for cancelling it, but they were pretty good to them for the 3 seasons that were there in terms of what was in the episodes.
I mean, I think what really has made the transition smooth is that it's the same production company, it's the same people making it, everything's the same. It's just the distributor and where the money's coming from that's changed. Yeah. Like that's
honestly the most jarring thing was Avasarala's husband.
Sure, yeah, but that may have happened anyway, just because
it might well have done, yeah.
Because our previous husband only had a few scenes, it wasn't like a big role, and I think the bumping it to this major of a role is probably what meant, hey, we probably should have, cast that differly back when we started.
Could have been a scheduling thing. Maybe the other guy's busy. Who knows?
Could be. So there you go. That is the season 4 finale of The Expanse. So hopefully season 5 is here sooner rather than later, because I love this show, and it's one of my favorite shows right now. And it's I think season 3 get best of the year last year, as in 2018.
It might have done because there was no Mr. Robot.
Yeah, I think it may have done. I think we might have given
that or Better Call Saul maybe.
I think we gave Expanse season 3 number 1, and we've not done our top 10 of 2019 yet. That's coming very soon.
Yeah, I might have to redo mine because since when I made that list, thinking okay, we're going to be doing it sort of soon, we were maybe 3 or 4 episodes into this, and I didn't feel like I'd seen enough to go right. This deserves even in consideration yet. But now I'm going to have to, to see, okay, does this need to be on this list?
You can slot it in and bump whatever 10 was off.
You don't know what 10 is. Maybe 10 is like something that I really don't want to sacrifice.
Well, it's either better than your number 10 or it isn't. It's that simple.
I know, but that's the dilemma. I spent hours trying to decide, and now I've got to think about it all again.
It's not that complex. It's either better than number 10 or it isn't, and if it's better than number 10, well, is it better than number 9? And you make that choice again. You just keep going until you run out of
I know.
yeses. The logic is simple but effective. Anyway, let us know what you think of the season and the finale in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show, you can of course share the show out. You can rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars. It helps us a lot. People find us that way because we'll be recommended out and things like that. You can support us financially over at patreon.com/mailedfuzztv, and you can do that for as little as $1 per month and get some bonuses for your troubles. So go and have a look and see if you're interested in that and help keep all the content coming. Otherwise, that is us. I should probably promote a couple of other TV show reviews that we're probably going to be doing soon, or are already doing. We're working through Lost in Space over on Netflix right now, season 2, which is oddly got some similar plot beats to The Expanse this year, but very different, of course, very family orientated. Certainly no F-bombs in that show, but
no, but fun,
perfectly fun for what it is. It's definitely not Expanse, but it is enjoyable. I will say, coming up soon, of course, from Netflix, we do have Lock and Key. From Amazon, we'll be trying out Hunters in February. There's a new HBO show soon called The Outsider, based on a Stephen King book, which we'll be trying. So all of these things. So we have 2 TV feeds. We have the Almost Cancelled TV Reviews feed, which is this one if you're listening to this on the audio podcast, and then the other one's the Almost Cancelled Netflix Reviews feed for all the Netflix shows specifically. So there's 2 TV review feeds, and make sure you have a look at either one. But anyway, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?